Hey, shalom, shalom. First off, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ruach HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who learned the truth of the gospel of Yahweh Shai through the Holy Spirit. Honor, salutations, and blessings to the men that are preaching the gospel of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, in all sincerity, diligence, and truth, feeding the sheep of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And peace, grace, and blessings be upon the house of David, which is the elect, the men, women, and children that are listening and learning, being the first fruits of the kingdom of heaven, which is the kingdom of Israel. Just real quick, I seen this article. Just wanted to read through it. It's not long at all. Tying in once again to biblical prophecy. And I remember years ago there's always been articles. A lot of them coming from Russia Today about de-dollarization. All right. Various different countries, namely Russia, China, moving away from the dollar, which would ultimately end up bringing on a economic turmoil here in America, because when you have countries that have a lot of that have used the dollar for collateral, or have a lot of debt in a dollar, that actually makes the dollar strong. Right. But when you have countries that's moving away from the dollar, all right, telling their corporations or their, different companies to not hold dollars, the U.S. dollar as collateral, and we have that happening on a countrywide scale, then that means all of those dollar bills that those various different companies, auto stocks, et cetera, were using, those come back to the United States. All right. And when you have an influx of money coming into, the country, that's going to cause, a hyperinflation. All right. Because too much money, too much dollars will cause a surplus of dollars, which will actually devalue the dollar, which would make the things that you want to buy cost more dollars. All right. That's where you get inflation from. Okay, a hyperinflation. So the whole thing, even with the stimulus checks that they were giving out a couple years ago, well, that all played a part into why there is a inflation happening right now, because you had too much dollars circulating within the system. All right, and people weren't spending because things were closed down, so people just had a lot of money. So now people have too much money, and on top of that, not too much money. I'm not saying individuals have too much money, but there's too much dollars in circulation, and on top of that, with the supply chain shortages, that's also adding to the inflationary issues. But from this article, as you read, it's from Reuters. It says Moscow exchange to ban use of dollars as collateral from August 29th. Which is about 5 days from now. All right. And the Moscow exchange is speaking of the their stock exchange. So it says the Moscow exchange will ban the use of dollars as collateral to underwrite transactions, it said on Monday, as Russia seeks to cut dependency on currencies of nations that have imposed sanctions on it. OK, and that's why you have a lot of, Russia and China, they're stockpiling a lot of gold. OK, not even just them, but you also have, Western central banks doing it as well. But Russia has been doing that for a very long time because, your money is supposed to be valued in silver and gold. All right. That is the true. That's true. That's the true medium of exchange, that has been in place since merchants, since commerce was a thing. All right. It's only until, the Roman Empire, when they started to what do they call it? Use the denaries, and they would cut them, cut it up and mix it down. Basically, what's the word I'm looking for? It just escaped me. But once Esau got into authority, that's when you started to have fiat money become the means of exchange. Okay, but let's read on. It says a statement posted on the exchange website said that new policy would come into effect on August 29th. It gave no details. Earlier this month, the exchange, the country's largest bourse, said it would limit the use of dollars as collateral to 25% from 50%. So earlier this month, they said that they were going to drop it to 25%. Now they're saying that it's going to be banned completely. Russia authorities have voiced concerns about individuals and corporation holdings of currencies that it terms unfriendly, calling for their conversion into alternatives. Which you have also, digital currency that is being spoken about being used, on a worldwide scale. Okay, like I said before, you have a lot of central banks that are stockpiling gold. Okay, which you stockpile gold, gold becomes a necessity or becomes more. I mean, it's already been a valued commodity, but gold price rise when the dollar, all right, or whatever currency of your country starts to decrease. So if you have central banks of the United States Central Bank Federal Reserve, you got the European Central Bank Reserve Central Bank, you got Russia Central Bank, you have China Central Bank, all right, and others that are hoarding more and more gold. Well, that lets you know that they are in anticipation of moving away from the fiat money that is currently in circulation. All right. So it says the United States and its allies have imposed several rounds of sanctions, including those targeting the country's largest lenders and Putin since Russia's forces invaded Ukraine in February. All right. So, this is this is some major news, because this is a economic, or you can call it an economic declaration of war. Okay, which Russia and America, ever since February, they've been in proxy wars. Okay, especially America that is sending a whole bunch of military aid and money to Ukraine. A lot of the way that Ukraine is fighting back and killing Russian army members is through the military weapons of the United States. So don't be surprised as this intensifies. It becomes more direct. Okay, so you have them moving away, banning the use of the dollar as collateral. So now, when you go into the scripture, which I only have like one or two scriptures, Isaiah 13 verse 17, it says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them." All right, and the Medes are the modern day area where Russia is at, all right, and its allied countries. Okay, when you look at an ancient map of where the Medians were located, it's in the same area where Russia and those Soviet Union countries are at. So, and it says, "I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it." Which silver and gold, is representation of money. So, as we see, Russia is not delighting in the petrodollar. It is not delighting in the U.S. dollar. All right, and the thing is, the U.S. dollar, because Russia has its own oil, so Russia doesn't need to really do business with the U.S. dollar, because Russia is a major player on the oil playing field, especially for Europe. Okay, which is why they basically came out, and responded to those sanctions and said, if y'all want to still use our oil, then you gotta use our oil with the ruble, which is the Russians' national currency. Okay, so the fact that these countries still need Russia oil, they can move away from the dollar. All right, and there was another article I seen earlier yesterday that said that basically Turkey is the only country in NATO or in the EU that hasn't imposed any sanctions on Russia, which when you go into Ezekiel 38, it speaks about how Togarmah, which is modern day Turkey, was going to be basically was going to be allied with Gog and Magog, which Gog and Magog is also representation or representative of Russia. All right, this is Ezekiel 38, verse 6. It says, Gomar and all of his bands in a house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all of his bands and many people with thee. Now, when you read up, it's speaking about Gog and Magog, the prince of Meshech and Tubal, right? And it speaks of, and I'm not reading, I'm just trying to make this quick. It speaks of all of the different nations that are going to be joined with Russia. And Togarmah, all right, aka Turkey, is going to be one of those countries that becomes allied with Russia during this World War, all right, World War III. All right, and that's why out of all of the countries that are part of NATO, Turkey is the one that is most allied, is the one that is not put any sanctions on Russia and etc. because it's ultimately the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Okay, so, and there was an article I just seen that another person got blown up in a car explosion in Russia. So that's the second person, this week, or maybe within a week, within 7 days, that died in a car explosion. So, let me see something. Russia car blast. Let's see what pops up. It should be something very recently. So it probably didn't even. Let's see, car explosion. Yeah, so that was a couple days ago, but there's actually another one, Let me go on Twitter because that's where I seen it. So bear with me. It wasn't too far back, so it should be coming up soon. It's interesting. ECB, European Central Bank, says cash, quote, not fit for digital economy, dismisses CBDC privacy concerns. I'm going to read that later. Come on, where is it? All right, it should be coming up. Here we go. It says another car bombing occurred, killing, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, military civilian administration of Russia's leader, Ivan Sushko. So, you got these car bombing explosions happening. So we'll see how they decide to retaliate if they do. Okay. So don't be surprised if you start seeing things like this happening in Babylon the Great, America. So, I just want to bring this out. Just want to, like I said, bring some, shed some light on that, showing that we are definitely in those times, and the tensions between these countries are, rapidly rising more and more. So, stay locked in, stay in spirit. Until next time, call Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakakwadash, Shalom.